Hey there, you're listening to Genoa's Arcs, a self-reflective podcast exploring transformation with purpose, honoring growth and connection through awareness and presence. This is your host, Genoa Kay. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This episode contains reflections on trauma and emotional recovery. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Please trust yourself and seek support as needed from a licensed mental health or healthcare provider. The views expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect those of any guests, sponsors, or platform providers. As the creator and host of this podcast, I believe that service and sustainability go hand in hand. The idea that serving others must mean depleting yourself or working for free is a myth I choose to not perpetuate. While much of this content is freely available, you may hear sponsored messages or occasional requests for financial support, all of which help to keep this space alive and well. Some content may be offered through a paywall as a way to honor the time, energy, and skill it took to create them. If access to paid content is a barrier for you, please visit the show notes for more information. This is the first episode of a storytelling series within this podcast called The 6 Arcs, a Spiral Journey into Emotional Recovery. Each arc contains 10 episodes and traces a story of emotional recovery, reflecting the non-linear, often turbulent nature of finding the way back to yourself. Arc 1, Reclaiming Innocence, is where it all begins. The first moment you realize something is stirring. It's about awakening and making contact with the parts of us that trauma buried, distorted, and silenced. It's the beginning of a return to play, curiosity, creativity, and to the deeper truth of who we are beneath the coping and despair. This is the phase where our inner world doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It tiptoes in, often disguised as a question. Remember me? In this first episode, we'll explore what it means to reconnect with innocence. Not as a return to childhood, but as a return to the truth of who we are underneath the pain. I'll share parts of my story and why this arc matters so much in my own journey of emotional recovery. This series has been on my heart for a long time. Not because I have all the answers, but because I've lived a life full of questions. Because like so many of you listening, I know what it feels like to lose things I never should have had to lose. Safety, trust, direction, and for a long time, my innocence. But I've come to realize that innocence isn't something that can be taken away permanently. It can be buried, it can be hidden, it can be distorted, but in my experience, it can also be reclaimed. And that's what this first arc is about. Not in a fairy tale way, not with denial, toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, or pretending the hard stuff didn't happen. Quite the opposite. This is about walking into the hard stuff and no longer running from it. This is about telling myself the truth, especially the parts I was most afraid to say out loud. Honesty builds trust. How could I even begin to reclaim my innocence if I wasn't willing to be honest with myself? And so I've learned, after 4 decades of looking for answers, usually in all the wrong places, there is no pot of gold at the end of the victimhood rainbow. Victimhood may be a part of the story, a very valid part, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. And in my experience, when I built my identity there, I became stuck in a place I was never meant to stay. In that place, all I did was fight to survive. I believe we were meant to move forward, beyond the victimhood narrative, not to forget, but to transform. I've lived through childhood trauma. I battled undiagnosed ADHD for most of my life. I've experienced homelessness, toxic and abusive relationships, and years of trying to fix everyone else while completely abandoning myself. And yet, through all of that, I've come to understand something I didn't always believe, that emotional recovery is possible, that meaning is possible, that innocence, in its truest sense, can be reclaimed. What do I mean by innocence? Not naivete, not perfection, not pretending the darkness doesn't exist. I mean the ability to see yourself and the world with honesty, openness, and hope again. To remember that you are good at your core, even if others tried to convince you otherwise. Even if your own actions muddled your sense of self. For me, this journey started when I stopped looking for someone else to save me and started learning how to take full responsibility for my own well-being. Not in a harsh, just get over it already kind of way, but in a quiet, powerful way. The kind that builds strength over time, the kind that becomes unshakable because it's rooted in something real, something tangible, a realization that while we may experience trauma, we do not have to be ruled by our trauma. We do not have to become our trauma. While our past may be dominated by arcs of betrayal, disbelief, mistrust, pain, torture, isolation, our present can be taken back, and our future can become an entirely different story. Over this series, I'll share parts of my story, tools I've used to rebuild, and truths I wish someone had told me when I was younger. I'll also talk about what it means to serve others from a place of wholeness, not performance, not martyrdom, but genuine service that comes from doing the work and knowing yourself. This isn't about religion or ideology. You don't need to believe what I believe. You don't need to believe in anything at all other than yourself. What matters is the action, the daily, sometimes painfully slow steps it takes to build a life worth living, and asking for help when needed from trusted sources such as licensed, trauma-informed mental health professionals. I don't have the answers for you, but perhaps you'll learn something from my journey, tracing the many spirals and ripples into emotional recovery that might resonate with your own journey. So if you've ever felt like your innocence was taken, if you've ever been told to get over it, or worse, had your story minimized or disbelieved, if you've ever looked around and wondered, is this it? I want you to know you're not alone. This series is for you. This series is for all of us. We'll start slow, we'll keep it honest, and we'll walk this road together. I'm so glad you're here. If you've found value in today's episode and you'd like to support the ongoing creation of this space, you'll find ways to do so in the show notes. Support here is always optional, but also deeply appreciated. On the next episode, we'll talk about the historical context of innocence and the idea that innocence hasn't always been seen as something worth protecting. Genoa's Arcs is written, recorded, and produced by Genoa Kay. Original music composed and produced by Genoa Kay.